You're looking at my next project here. I owe my youngest daughter a dining room table. I promised her a long time ago that I'd make it, and now the time has come. So what you're looking at here is a walnut. I'm going to use solid walnut mission style table. It's, let's see, just under 6 feet long. It will expand by another 20 inches. So let me show you how I plan to do this. I'll be using a butterfly leaf system. It just flips out from inside. It's kind of a neat mechanism. And when you're done with it, you just simply flip it back down and it stows inside the table. Okay, this is the table that will sacrifice parts for the new walnut dining table. My daughter went out and found somebody on Craigslist who was selling a table, and it was cheap, and this thing has got such a cool mechanism that just couldn't pass up on it. So let me show you how this works. Okay, it's got a really cool mechanism for stowing the leaf. All you do is release this edge, swing it open, and you notice the base doesn't move. You're not dragging legs across your floor. The top itself actually floats on this. Once you have that open, you just unfold the leaf, lock it back in place. There we go. And there it is, full-length table. And it folds right back to stow it when you don't need it. There we have it. This is a good base to start with. This mechanism is really interesting to see how it's engineered. You notice that the tabletop itself floats. The apron is fixed. So this apron doesn't move, it always stays the same side. You can see the table just cantilevers out over it. And then the mechanism itself actually comes right through the apron. And so they've got some little cap things built into the top just to cover that when it's closed. Now, I don't think this is going to be tough at all, because all I have to do is just detach this and then use the apron and use these top pieces and the leaves as templates. So what I'll do is just take a piece of walnut and put this table together using these as templates and just reassemble it right back to this base, and then I just need to make a leg assembly to support it all. All right, let's take this table apart. The original table here that I'm starting from is 52 inches by 34. We want to put a top on that's 34, but we want to go 71 inches. So I want to take this apart, take a look at the mechanism here with this apron, and see if I can adapt it to a larger table. So we've got a core structure here of 2 lengthwise pretty thick pieces of wood with these cross pieces in here supporting the leaf. This is that leaf that tilts up and open. And then we've got these rails that attach to each of the halves of the top that allow it to slide. And I noticed they had some washers in here for spacers, I suppose, to get it up off of this just enough so that it would ride freely. Now this apron that goes all the way around here, it's kind of cool because it's fixed. It doesn't open or close. It just stays exactly like this. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to need a bigger apron. So what that means is these lengthwise pieces have to be extended out further to catch the apron. So I'm going to need to think about how I want to do that. I don't think it'll be that difficult, but I'll take some time and give that some thought. So I think what I'll do now is take this center piece out and look at taking the apron off of here. Everything's disassembled, so where do I start? I think the first thing I want to do is lengthen these. These are about 4 feet, and with this being a larger table that we want to build, I need to add about 1.5 feet to this. I'm not going to just try to tie into this because I want this thing really strong. This is really kind of the heart of that table. So instead, I will make new ones. Now these are 1 3/4 by about 3 1/8. So it's kind of an odd size. I don't have anything like that. And I know you typically can get away with using a lesser wood for this type of structure, but I do have a whole bunch of oak left over from some other projects, and I don't think I'll do much with this otherwise, so I think the cheapest thing I can do is use what I have. So what I'll end up doing seems like a lot of work, but you know, why not? I'm going to glue these up. I'll actually have to use 5 of these to get the thickness that I need. And once I've got them all glued up and ready to go, then I can cut them down to fit. And then I'll use the existing ones as patterns to figure out where I need slots, where I need to make the cutout for this center gear. So that's my plan. Let's get started. All right, we're all glued up. I had just enough glue on hand to do this. I just about ran out. Let me show you a couple of things. I actually turned out I was couple of boards short, so what I did here, 1 2 3 4 5, this is one of them, and you can see a little joint there. I actually had to join 2 together, stuck them right in the middle, put a 45 on that, and here's another one down here. I don't think that'll hurt it. I think it'll be plenty strong. But once the glue dries, I will run this through the planer to bring it down to the dimensions I need. And then I can start recutting it, putting grooves in it, and making it match. All right, here's the rebuilt core. So you can see these glued up oak pieces now. I had to add grooves in here, a little slot here, a little recess here for this mechanism, and everything put back together. I put these cross pieces back in, so those are not any different than when they came out. And then the only other modification I made though is I added in just a little bit of bracing here on each of these pieces to keep it from racking from side to side and keep it square. I think this is going to work out really good. I went about 2 hours north today and picked up this walnut. Now this walnut actually came from a farm in southern Minnesota. And as the guy tells me that he got it from a co-worker whose grandpa had actually planted these trees, and the family decided they didn't want to be picking up nuts anymore off the ground. They wanted those trees gone. And so the guy that I bought the wood from got these, had them sawn and kiln dried, and now he's just trying to get rid of them. So this will be the wood that I make that dining room table from. That's kind of neat because you can see a lot of these are consecutive pieces, right, sawn from the same tree. So I'll try to keep that in mind as I start putting these pieces together. Most of the grain is pretty straight, but there are some kind of interesting parts of this too. So I'll have to get together with Anna and decide how we want to make use of this. So we picked out the 3 slabs that we want to use for the tabletop, and the next thing I'd like to do is square these up. So we'll straighten up the bottom. We'll lop off that top part. Once I have the top and the bottom squared up, and again, that won't be the final cut, but it's just so that I don't need to shim those, so I can stand them up straight. Then what I'll do next is square up these sides, and again, that's just to get a good straight edge on those so that later I can run those through the table saw to get to the final width before glue up. I'm going to try something different. I need to glue these boards up. And before I do it, I need to rip them down. And normally you'd rip them, get them nice and straight, and then run through a joiner so that you'd have a nice edge that they would line up. I don't have a joiner, so I'm going to try something different. I'm going to use my table saw, and I'm going to try this ripping blade. It's called a glue line rip. It's supposed to leave a nice clean edge, and so we'll give that a try. So between this and then this little arrangement here, what I've got is a nice straight piece of plywood that I've screwed to the back side of one of these. I'll use this against the fence so that I can get a good straight edge on this edge. And then I'll turn around and hit this side. Hopefully, if I do all this right, when I line these things up to glue them, they'll all fit nice and tight. Here's the tabletop glued up. Now normally I don't glue a table up first before I've sent it through the planer. I'll usually send it through the planer, and I've got a 12-inch planer, and then I'll glue it up. But I wanted to try something a little bit different. So on this one, I just glued them up first, and I will take them down the road to a cabinet shop nearby, and they've got a 37-inch wide belt sander that they can run this through and should make short work of this. Now the way that this is clamped is basically every long clamp I own is on this thing right now, just to make sure that I get a good glue up. And then I used some specialty clamps that I made up a long time ago. It's these wood clamps that you'll see right here, here and here. And it's basically, instead of squeezing this way, what this does is it squeezes this way. So I've got one of these on top and one on the bottom. And it squeezes the wood together, and it keeps all of these seams aligned so I don't end up with one high and one low. So that will make sure that everything is lined up nice and should go through that belt sander with no trouble. So that's about it for this first part. Join me for the next part. I don't know what I'm doing next. I've got lots and lots of tasks to do, but we'll see you next time.